There are a number of basic pieces of information that you need to have straight when you take the exam for A+. And so let's talk about what you're going to be tested on when it comes to CPU. Now, the basic information about the CPU is as follows. The Central Processing Unit, that's what CPU stands for, make sure you know that, is the brain of the computer. This is what is making sure that all the pieces of hardware do what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it. It's passing instructions to them. The software that is written for you out there in C++, C#, VBNet, Java, all that stuff, is actually executing instructions that execute other instructions down at the machine level, and these end up calling things on the CPU. And so the CPU has a limited set of instructions down there, but again, all you need to know is this is the brain of the computer. This is where it all comes together. Now, it performs, organizes, and controls most of the processing that takes place. And again, you can think of it as a traffic cop. It keeps all the various hardware things like memory, graphics, and user input and all that kind of sorted out and working together. Now, recognizing a CPU on a motherboard is relatively easy. It is usually the largest single piece of equipment on the board. Most people don't have any problem recognizing these. You may well see a picture on the exam and they'll ask you to identify the CPU or the RAM memory slots or something like that. So that's what a CPU looks like. Shouldn't have any trouble there. Now, what exactly do you need to be prepared to answer on the exam when it comes to the CPU? Well, there's a number of things. First of all, socket types. And I'm going to do a separate video on each one of these areas, and so you need to understand what the various socket types are. And this is a piece of hardware that is actually attached or soldered to the motherboard that we put our processors on. The speed of the CPU, what causes the speed, how to measure the speed. The cores, how many processors are actually there. Hyperthreading, this is a functionality the processor does to give us speed. Registers, this is a memory aspect of CPUs. Architecture, 32 or 64-bit, we'll talk about that. An integrated GPU, and then CPU cooling. Now, all of these areas, they're not going to go very deep, but they do want you to know some things this, and probably the deepest one here is socket types. There's some things you'll have to memorize there. So that's where we're headed on CPU. As long as you know what I've talked about in this video, you're in good shape. And then we'll go through each one of these individually and get you ready on those as well.